Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Going to be looking at another one of the 60s quarter scale kits from Monogram. This is the 1962 Monogram kit of the Mitsubishi Zero Zeke. It's kit number PA7398. So this was a 98-cent suggested retail price from the price extension. And quarter scale is 148 scale. We've got box art done by Dick Loker, and this particular kit of the Zero, I believe, is supposed to be of an A6M5, which was the type Zero Model 52. A6M was, A stood for carrier-based, 6 was a 6th fighter produced as a carrier-based fighter, and then M was for Mitsubishi. Long name was a Navy Type O carrier fighter, and the type, or not type O, type 0, and the 0 came from the last year of the Imperial year, which was 2600, which was the same as 1940, so the 0 matched up with those 2 years. Allied reporting name was Zeke, which is what's shown here in parentheses up here. The A6M5, had some modifications being done to it. It was the last basic model of the Zero. They had gradually, throughout the war, done improvements to try to keep it relevant in the Pacific War. The earlier A6M2 Type 11 and 21s, had done a pretty good job in the first 6 months of the war. But as Allied tactics had changed and then gradually better aircraft came in, the Zero was starting to show its weaknesses. So they started trying to alleviate some of those through the A6M3, Type 32, and then finally with this A6M5. And the 5 went through a couple of iterations as well, mainly with additional armament changes. But the main differences for going to the 5 was the shortening the wings to try to get some more speed out of it. So they got rid of the wing folding mechanism, saved a little bit of weight from there because they were adding weight. Previous versions had added some self-sealing fuel tanks. And then the 5 shortened the wings, similar to what the clipped wing version had done. But they redesigned the wing to have a shorter wing, but still maintain the round wing tip on it. That also then revised the ailerons, the trim tabs for the ailerons, and the flaps were also revised. The initial versions of the A6M5 had the same cowling as the A6M3, but shortly after they went to having these separate exhaust stacks for the engine, which then caused them to have to revise the cowling to accommodate those. There was a little bit of additional thrust added by angling these exhaust stacks rearward. So that had, gave a couple miles an hour more speed out of it. What else? The wing tanks also featured CO2 extinguishers put in it. And the initial version still maintained the magazine-fed cannons. The later versions ended up having a belt-fed, which increased the number of rounds being carried. You can identify that one with there's bulges under the wings to accommodate that mechanism. And then they added 13mm machine guns to the later versions as well. Cowl guns initially were both 7.7s, and they went to one 13mm and one 7.7, then they went to two 13mm on them. But this first version still, I believe, had the 7.7s on it. And this kit, I believe, represents that first version of the A65M. So let's take a look at our kit here. We've got some great artwork on here from Dick Loker. A little odd in seeing, silver or bare metal Zeros. Which there really weren't any of those in service, but later when we get into the decals, we'll understand why. So again, quarter scale across the top part of the series, and the features that they're doing here: authentic action model with retracting landing gear, 3-bladed prop, machine guns, and cannon. Don't know why they say the machine guns and cannon, because other than holes, In the cowling, they don't give you any machine gun parts. In Canon, it's just the barrels are sticking out. And you get a belly tank. On the side here, we've got a little bit of history of the kit itself, and 1/4-inch scale listed here as well. This side here talks about some of the other kits in the 1/4-inch scale series. We've covered the Avenger, the Helldiver, the 109, and the Dauntless, the later issue. And this was a 1962 copyright on here. On the end, we've got a repeat of the top box art, kit number, and similar on this end. So the box is still the lithograph slick glued over a hard box. And we've got our instruction sheet. So we've got kind of a artistic enhanced photograph here. Kit number again, your 1/4 scale, 1/48 scale, copyright, little history on the Zero. Got a full exploded view of all the kit parts, calling out everything by number as well. And interestingly, you've got S or B in front of the part number, letting you know whether it's a silver part or a black plastic part. Tips for assembly, plug for Monogram's glue, and Monogram is kind of unique in their instructions at this time period, where they're showing you actual photographs of the kit being assembled, so you knew exactly what to do. You know, and they're even showing you with little arrows pointing, you know, where to apply the cement on it. Yes, suggesting putting rubber bands, even showing the rubber bands still on it as you're assembling it. Here's your retracting gear mechanisms, installing your cannon, putting your prop on, your exhaust, finally gluing the wings on, canopy, and finally your drop tank. And then you get a little blurb here on how to operate the landing gear. And on the back side here, you've got tips on how to finish it and your painting. Section on how to apply decals. Kind of 3 views of the finished model, again showing you where the decals should go. And then some more plugs for some additional kits in the series. So there's that. And then here we have our decals. So we got the kit number on here. On the back, got when this kit number again, and then 1962 production on it. And so these are, needless to say, some spurious markings, as a lot of these 48 scale early issue kits from Monogram kind of had just stylized markings. And that is kind of the case with this, in that this is copying an actual aircraft that had been captured and brought back to the States, and these are some markings that got put on it at one point in its lifetime. So this plane started out as constructor number 4340. It's built by Mitsubishi in December of 43. It was assigned to the 261st Kokutai, and it had tail code 61-106. Then in June of 44, it was captured on Aslito Airfield on Saipan by U.S. Marines who had taken the island. It's one of 15 aircraft captured on that field. It was then transported to the U.S. on the escort carrier USS Kopahi and CVE-12, and it left on 8 July from Saipan. It was unloaded at Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego on 28 July. And shortly after that, it was made airworthy and flown to NAS Anacostia in Washington, D.C. on September 1st of 1944. At that point, it received the code of TAIC number 7, and that was transferred to the USAF Test Center at Wright Field, and it was recoded as FE-130. And it was there from 16th of April of 44 through February 46. And sometime during 45, it ended up being deployed down to Eglin Field in Florida, and it was displayed there as part of a post-war victory parade kind of thing. After its time, it went back to Wright Field, and then it ended up getting transferred to Freeman Field in Indiana, where a lot of other testing was done. Our previous video on the Focke-Wulf 190 had mentioned about that an aircraft that was at the same field, kind of going through the same process. At Freeman Field, it was there from 4 March of 46, and at this time the coding had changed to T2-130 instead of the FE. It left Freeman Field on 14 June of 46. Wasn't able to see exactly where it went, but I'm going to assume that it probably went with all the other captured aircraft that were supposed to be preserved for the Smithsonian, in that they all ended up getting sent to Chicago for storage out there. At some point during this time is where it picked up some various spurious markings that were, supposed to kind of give the look of a Japanese aircraft. And there's quite a number of photographs of this aircraft throughout its history, and there are some that show it wearing these markings that these decals show. At some point, the number 12 had gotten painted on the aircraft. And then over that, this kind of phony Japanese marking got placed onto the tail, and it looks really close to the Japanese Army 68th Hiko Sentai. The Japanese Navy didn't use these tail squadron markings. There was the Army that did. So this looks a lot like that one particular squadron's. And when you see the photographs that we're going to show you here in a second, you'll see that, that this is what they're copying. They did add to the decals these Japanese characters that you don't see on the photographs, but they at some point did add the white fuselage band with the red trim, which they copied onto the decal markings here. There was also some additional red paint added to the cowl flaps, which was a little unusual, and the propeller spinner ended up becoming red at one point. So eventually the aircraft ended up getting to the Smithsonian and restored during the 70s. It was painted as, at the time they didn't know for sure exactly what the original aircraft's identity was. So they just painted it in they just picked an aircraft to paint it up as, and they ended up painting it as the constructor number 4361 with a tail coating of 61-131. And it currently still resides at the Smithsonian to this day. So you can go see this aircraft if you so choose. So let me show you some of the pictures of the history of this particular plane, and those are coming up next. Okay, so let's take a look at the plastic. As I mentioned before, it's molded in this silver plastic, since they were thinking this was a silver plane or a bare metal plane. And we've got quite a bit of rivet detail going on the outside. Some raised panel lining for some of the access panels, your tail. There's engraved lines for the rudder and the trim tab, and then these little lines, raised lines to represent the fabric covering. But a little heavy-handed on this. Nothing on the interior. Same thing with this one. Headrest is molded as part of the fuselage. Take a look at what our fit looks like. So pretty tight fit. Really don't have to do much filling in that. Definitely need to use some rubber bands on it to hold together. All the glue setting. But pretty good fit, especially for this first run of the kit. Take a look at our wings. So we've got our lower wing is all one piece. Same raised panel lining and raised riveting. You can see there's no bulges on the bottom, which would have been a later mark of the A6M5. Similar representation of fabric on the ailerons here. And open scoop. And here's our top wing pieces. Similar again. A little bit of flash on this piece. Nothing on the inside to represent the wheel well. Here's the other one. We got openings for the cannons to go in. Pitot tube there. Horizontal tail surfaces. There's some ejector pin marks, but probably they were wise and put those on the bottom side. A little bit of flash on these pieces again. And this sprue has half of the tank, the gear doors, landing gear itself, some more gear doors here. So a very kind of stylized representation of the landing gear. But hey, if it works, you can retract the gear. Other half of the tank. Here's one of the gears. A little bit of something there. And then here's our black sprue, which includes our cannon barrels, instrument panel, and the wheels and tires. It's pretty simplistic. Here's our separate exhaust. And our propeller. Our pilot's part of the black molded parts. It's got a little pin on the side here to stick them inside of the fuselage. It looks the same as most of the other Revell kits in this series. Nothing really differentiating him from the American pilots. And then here's our engine cowling, flaps, everything all molded as one piece. Kind of nice holes here for the machine guns. And the Sakai engine is molded in there. Or Sakai. Very thick cowl flaps on the back. But yeah, considering this is going to be sitting behind a big hub, yeah, there's not much that you'd be seeing anyway on that. And then finally, we got our clear canopy. This is an area where Monogram usually does pretty good. This one's a little thick, but we got some nice framing on it. A little bit of rivet detail across the bottom. Got a hole for the antenna to go through. So not too bad. A little bit of distortion. It's not the best that they make, but it's definitely passable. So there you have it. That is your Monogram Zero. And they produce this quite a bit. You know, I mean, Zero is a pretty popular airplane, so expected to get a lot of reissues, and that it did. So the first change to it was in '68 as the blue box issue. The artwork is actually modified from this. So reduced in size on the blue box where you got the big blue panel on the side. And the artwork's been changed to having these aircraft being camouflaged, and the markings changed. So I guess somebody figured out that, Zeros weren't flying around in silver or bare metal. So you got some new decals with that. 74 is the first of the white box photo issue with the Truth in Advertising series, where they started having to put pictures of the completed model on it. 75, similar, slightly different photograph on it, and there's a change in the decals. You now have 3 different Zeros to choose from. 83, there's a Young Builders Club version. And in 91, got some new artwork, so ditched the photograph. 95 was another new artwork. In 2004, was when Revell had completely taken over the Monogram line, and they were reissuing their kits under the under the Revell name. And they continued the artwork from the 95 issue for Monogram. 2014, Revell did a whole new artwork and a whole new set of decals. There's one other issue of this that was put out by Revell in 1999 as what they called their dogfight combo, which included the Monogram Zero and then the Monogram P40 Flying Tiger kit, which is kind of an odd combination for the two, since the P40 Flying Tigers really didn't come across Zeros, and especially the Type 52s or A6M5s. So it's kind of a odd matching for those two, but it probably sold a lot. So that's about all of those issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see this thing being repopped by Revell at some point here. So if you have built one of these, tell us about it in the comment section. If you got one sitting on your shelf, as always, send us some pictures of it so we can share it with everyone on the next viewer build video. And that is all for today. So thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.